So one of the things that I really wanted to get to throughout this entire course was to give you an idea of what it is to own and operate a motor vehicle in Canada. Okay. What you got to understand is once you obtain your own vehicle, the expenses that we have really start to mount, right? You're now the principal driver, so your insurance costs go up and sometimes way up. And that depends on how old you are or how experienced you are with respect to your driving. Okay? So right here on your sheet, you'll notice that I've provided a table for you. Okay? Now that table is gonna basically shows us the average cost of insurance and other things for your car. Okay? Now, you'll notice that if I go and have, say, the insurance for my car, you'll notice that for certain age groups, we have a higher amount of cost for insurance. Okay. Now, the insurance tends to vary on the type of car that you have, your age, your gender. Okay. The company that owns the car, right? And the number of traffic infractions that you've had. So let's say that if you were caught speeding once or twice in 1 year, you get demerit points, but then also those people that go and give you those tickets notify the insurance companies and tell everybody, hey, you're a bad driver, so they increase your vehicle, they increase your cost. And you'll notice that the younger you are, the more expensive the insurance costs. Okay. So between the ages of 16 and 21, you have a ridiculous amount of money because really the insurance companies think, hey, you guys are bad drivers, you're horrible. You probably get a bunch of speeding tickets. So you know what? The cost of having insurance for 1 year is going to be about close to $10,000. As you get older, the value of the insurance tends to drop over time. Okay. And if you're a really good driver, you'll get numbers even lower than the age ranges from 25 all the way to 40. Okay. I have something much less than that for my insurance because I haven't had any. Anyway, we'll just stop there. Don't need to know as much. Now, in addition to insurance costs, there are other costs that you have to consider, right? Some of those costs that we have to consider are fuel, okay? Maintenance of your car, i.e. the repair of your car. And then on top of all this, remember, some of you have bought a brand new car, right? And you're still making payments on the loan or on the loan of this car. And remember that the loan of the car still has the original amount of the car that you paid for. But your car, the moment you leave the parking lot where you buy the car, the value of the car decreases every day that you drive it. Oh, and don't forget that about 2,000 people die from car traffic collisions each year in Canada alone, right? Cars are pretty awesome, huh? Now, here's what we're going to do, okay? At the end of the lesson, I want you to go and do your own personal online quote for a car and see how much it costs for different insurance companies in Canada, okay? It doesn't take long. It's stuff that you have to do anyway. It may as well do it on your own to understand how much it costs to buy insurance for yourself when you leave your home, or stop having mom and dad put you on their insurance. Okay? So let's first talk about some of the costs that are associated with having a car. Okay? So we have two types of cost. One cost that is called fixed and one that is called variable, right? when we talk about fixed costs, right, we're talking about things that has to be done on our car, okay? So, for example, since we drive our car all the time, a fixed cost would be maintenance of your car. So, some examples are brakes, tires and oil changes. Okay. And another fixed cost for your vehicle is these two specific things: the insurance, the license for your own driving, okay, after you get your graduated licensing, and the registration of your motor vehicle. Okay. And there's always these fixed costs that you get at the very beginning. And then also, you got to think of any lease or loan payments that you pay for your car. All right. Now, here are some variable costs that I want you to think about. You know that with certain cars, when you drive them, you sometimes have unexpected costs, like maybe the heater stops working, or you have to go and change something like the spark plugs on the car. These are variable costs. These are things that that are unexpected sometimes, because these are things you don't tend to think about. You also have to consider that depending on how far you go, you got to get gas, right? And recently, we have to deal with tolls as well. If you make a mistake and drive on that 407 without a transponder, that's a hefty fine, right? Now, if you went and did speeding, or the insurance decides, hey, let's go and increase the cost of driving. So they would increase it because there were maybe too many accidents in the previous year. Maybe you have tickets you have to pay as a variable cost. Maybe any mods like, sound like street effects for your car. Right. Okay. So now let's start considering some math problems that deal with your vehicle. Okay. We got to figure out things like how much it costs for our car. Right. So Ferd, in this problem, example 3, purchases car insurance for $3,000 a year. There are 2 payment options. First of all, you can pay it all once a year, the $3,000, or you can make weekly payments of $63. Okay. So we want to figure out what the difference is, what the difference between the 2 payment options are. Okay. So if I want to find, option A. Option A, pay all at once. So pay at once. Okay. So when we pay at once, that's going to cost $3,000 right away. Okay. Now here's option B. Option B, we have to think about it this way. This is the total weekly payments. The total weekly payments is, well, the number of weeks in a year is 52. So we're going to times something by 52, right? But the amount that we pay is $63. So we're going to go 63 times 52. And you're going to end up with a total of $3,276 for our total amount of money, which means that the difference in paying this is going to be $276, right? Now, the advantage of paying your money at the very beginning of the year, just paying it all off, option A, is, well, you don't have to pay any extra money. This extra money we call a service charge for paying smaller incremental amounts over the year. So just remember, when you're given that option, you know that there's some form of service charge that's usually being applied to your payments for the year. Okay? That's it. You just need to understand that you're going to pay a little bit more for the convenience of paying 52 equal payments of $63, which is much more manageable than $3,000 all at once. You literally have to plan to have that money at the beginning of the year when you want to pay for your insurance. Okay? All right. Now, let's take a look at this next problem. Okay? So, Ferd's truck has an 80-liter fuel tank. Okay? And a fuel efficiency of 13.4 liters for every 100 kilometers, right? How far can Ferd drive on one tank? Okay, now you got to remember that we studied ratios a long time ago. So I want you to imagine that your ratios are going to be liters over kilometers. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare. So remember, our original ratio is 13.4 liters for every 100 kilometers. So we're going to write 13.4 over 100. And that's going to equal, well, if you take a look at this, they say that we have an 80-liter fuel tank, and we're just trying to find out how far we can drive on that. So you got to remember that the top half of our fraction has to be liters. So we're going to put 80 on the top of this problem, and then we're going to put x on the bottom. Now, x is our unknown, and that is referring to the distance traveled for every 80 liters, right? So now when we go and solve, we're going to go and cross product. So when we cross product, we have to join two things. So in this case, I'm going to have my number with the x on the left side. So I'm going to go 13.4 x is equal to 80, and then we're going to times it by 100. Okay, so now that's going to be 8,000 is equal to 13.4x. Now, in order to get x by itself, we got to divide both sides by 13.4. And then you end up with x is equal to, well, 597.01, which really means that x is equal to approximately 597 kilometers as our final answer. So how far can he travel on 80 kilometers? Sorry, on 80 liters of fuel? He can travel 597 kilometers. All right, that's the end of page 1. Let's move on to page 2. So for page 2, we have a little bit more work to do with example 4, right? So now imagine we've got Ferd, again, with his truck, right? And now we need to figure out how much fuel he needs to spend, okay? So now, here is how we calculate the total fuel. So Ferd drives 50 kilometers a day, okay? And here's the thing. How much fuel does Ferd spend in 1 year if gas can be purchased at 98 cents per average? So the first thing we got to do is we got to find the total distance. Total distance for a year, okay? Well, he does 50 kilometers a day. So that's 50 times 365. And that gives us about 18,250 kilometers, right? So now we want to figure out the total amount of fuel that we have for this thing. So here's what we do. We're going to do our ratios again, okay? So total fuel is going to be liters over kilometers again. So remember, we're using ratios to find it. It's just grade 10 stuff, right? So we go 13.4 divided by 100, because it's 13.4 liters for every 100 kilometers is equal to, well, we know that we need to travel 18,250 kilometers per year. Now, we're going to go and put that 18,000 on the bottom of our fraction. 18,250 is on the bottom of our fraction, and we're going to call x our unknown. We're going to do our cross product again. Bam, bam. So now this time we're going to put 100x on the left side, because 100 and x are put together. And then we have 13.4, and then we're going to times it by 18,250. Okay, and we end up with this number. 244,550 when we multiply 13.4 times 18,250. So now, in order to get by x by itself, we divide both sides by 100. And x, remember, is the amount of liters. So now we know that x is 445.5 liters of gas. Okay? Now that I know that's how much gas we have, in order to find the total cost, all we have to do is this. $2,445. 45 liters, 0.5, and we're going to multiply that by 0.98, and we end up with dollars and cents, please. $2,396.59 as our total cost for driving an entire year. And there we go. Now, for our last problem, example 5, this one is going to be talking about how we calculate a thing called depreciation. Okay? Now, here's our problem. So for a new size vehicle, we buy it out. It ends up being $21,000 when we buy it from the dealer, right? This table here tells us how much it costs after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years, right? When I ask you for the depreciation in dollars for the first year, all you're doing is this. The depreciation in dollars is equal to the starting amount, which was $21,000. And then all we have to do is refer to the age of the vehicle in years and look at what its average price is. In this case, it's $16,000. So we're going to subtract $16,000. Now, that tells us that the depreciation in dollars is $5,000. So we actually lost $5,000 just for driving our car for a year, right? Now, the next problem that we have here is understanding what this thing called rate of depreciation is, okay? When you hear a thing called rate of depreciation, I'm going to actually put this over here. Rate of depreciation. So the rate of depreciation is really a percentage, right? Now, here's how we do this. To find the rate of depreciation, what you have to do is you have to take the rate of dep is equal to, well, 5,000 divided by the original amount, which is 21,000, and then times it by 100%. So when you punch that into your calculator, you go punch 5,000 divided by 21,000. And then multiply by 100, you end up with 24%. So that is what we call the rate of depreciation. So just remember, the rate of depreciation is always calculated as a percentage. Okay? So now, if I ask you to calculate the rate of depreciation for this new vehicle, which is this last one, right? After 5 years, the first thing that you have to do is you have to figure out how much it depreciates in a dollar amount. And then we have to find the rate of depreciation, which is the change in amount divided by the original times 100%. So let's do that right now. So in this case, we have the depreciation is equal to, well, 21,000. And we're going to go and subtract it from 5 years. So at 5 years, we're going to be at $8,800. So that means we have a depreciation in money amounts to be $12,200. So that's how much our depreciation as a dollar amount is. Now, when we want to calculate the rate of depreciation, what we have to do is we have to take that dollar amount, which is 12,200, and we're going to divide by the original amount, which was 21,000. And remember, we have to multiply by 100% to get our final answer. So now when you punch that in, you go 12,000 divided by 12,200 divided by 2,100, 21,000, then multiply by 100 right away. You're going to end up with approximately 58%. And that is not your rate of depreciation, it's your rate of depreciation being 58%. And you're done. Now, your homework has been posted. What I want you to do is I want you to work on questions number, let's see, 1, 3, 4, and the rest of those questions that I've given you there. They're pretty easy. You don't have to do all of them. Just do a little bit of practice up to at least question number 7 or 8. All right? Have a good day, guys.